a civilian oversight investigation. I have some theoretical, development research for that type of idea that I think would be important to be trained. See, if there's like a if there's like a free legal world that's idealistic, that does pro bono, maybe they would benefit from some older clandestine theoretics that basically come from an older idea in the CIA and stuff, and that a lot of those theoretics out of the CIA come out of research on how to do things in the Freeman Free Press way, okay? So intel gathering, that is a field phase, and that reactions to questions, a lot of times it narrows down where to focus deposition questions and interrogation questions, because a lot of times this stuff will lead to that. So the whole idea is that field questions, a lot of times the PR red tape world, you won't really get much, but what you'll get is a psychological observation of the reactions to the questions, and that in ways that is really only achievable. I mean, there's online ways, there is, but the field face to face, a lot of times it operates off of a deprogramming idea that when you walk directly up to their face and ask them or tell them or inform them, their reactions are a clue. A lot of times what you should look for in the field phase, because nobody admits, okay, and that a lot of people might view it as like a worthless idea, but their reactions, it's like, if you were to get the list of the 41, if you were able to get their like name, address, and phone number, I'm doing this investigation about this specific cop gang like methodology. And if you were to walk right up to their face, and if they were to go about stuff they think is secret, then you put that person on the deposition, arbitration, questioning list, basically. And that if they do that, then whatever question you ask them they're already guilty. Whatever question you ask them, if it causes like a deprogramming shock, then you'll know that you narrowed down the exact right question. And they'll be guilty of what you asked them, basically. And so that is where then in an arbitration deposition kind of setting, then that's the question to ask. And that then if they're lying under oath and stuff, those are crimes. And that eventually this stuff will lead, the magic will flow. It will. And so the things to look for are how do they orchestrate their avoidance, which the lawyers, they'll understand that. What process do they have that has filtering or stuff like that? See if they bring a couple of people to you. If they want you to like have Q&A in like a informal setting, that's an intimidation method. You know, the deprogramming shock to secrets being known outside of their little secret society, basically. And then lack of access or the research into the red tape. The red tape usually is stacked. It's kind of like, why won't anybody investigate in a real way? That's because they have stacked, placed red tape in the people that make decisions. And that then, if there's anger or rudeness out of very basic questions, that is where deposition, that type of emotional response, deprogramming shock and emotional responses, those are what you're really looking for in phase one of intel gathering. Because most people will be doing the corporate PR method, basically. And so the ones that are really paranoid and shit, they a lot of times will have deprogramming shock and anger and rudeness and stuff like that. And so if they are on like because all these cops are in S&Ms, they're all seen in like a voyeur site. If you end up having an orgy gayer or something that has access to that type of stuff, if you end up getting like a deprogramming shock with anger and rudeness, you might be able to see in a legal way that if you lay out the legal framework for how you were able to see behind the scenes, that stuff can be used. It can. It can. So, the whole idea is that, there's avenues of seeing what they do behind the scenes after you deprogram shock them, and if they exhibit anger and rudeness or something, there's behind the scenes avenues. So if you have that ability, then that's a utilizable tool to see, like, it might be, they might deprogram the like in anger and rudeness, and then they might get on their like dark web and be like, fucking, and then if you see that, that's the kind of stuff that like, that's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff you're looking for in this. So, essentially, that's kind of like, that would be the purpose of doing that. And it's really something that most people are like, everybody's used to just doing everything behind a computer in an office or something. See, if you look at the Goliath, you see that dude, he goes out into the field. They go out into the field. It's not a computer that they're using. They go out, they ask questions. Yeah, sure, don't have to tell people or whatever what you're doing. And then they go and they get. The whole idea is that you can't necessarily like stalk them, but whatever they do when they sit there with their telephoto lenses doing like where they sit around the person's house and stuff, that stuff is technically like what paparazzi does. You can do that. You can. There becomes after a while, it becomes somewhat of a psychotic stalking after a while, but essentially, if you are taking public sphere, and then there's another psychological reality to this, okay? So, Cop Watch, the theoretics of Cop Watch can be utilized on this too. That with these paranoid cops, okay, they're already paranoid. if you like, say you walk up to their house and you say, I'm on oversight investigation civilian team. Here's these questions. If they don't say anything, then just sit across the street with a paparazzi camera. And then oh yeah, then they'll walk right up to you and just say, oh, well, I'm just taking footage in the public sphere. And see, then they'll want to arrest you. And they will. And then get that on video, how they're intimidating the investigation team. And then add that in, because that's when they do intimidation. They don't put up with nobody fucking looking. That's how they are. And so if they want to gather evidence of committing crimes of intimidations and shit like that, and if they fucking arrest you and shit, then that's when they're directly affecting a sanctioned oversight investigation, and then they're directly intimidating it and shit. And so the whole idea is that the field gathering aspects, if they start committing crimes based on it, then what they're doing is like witness intimidation method. And if they do that specifically, you get specifically people that are, that's why I say, I'm part of blah, blah, blah. And that's why you say that to them. So then if they start doing their intimidation methods at you, then that type of stuff, then some of the questions are like, in Deputy Gang, we noticed there was witness intimidation, and then we noticed you doing this at us. You care to explain your training of witness intimidation that we have logged on file? And then they're fucked in the corner. And so then, in deposition, if they take the Fifth Amendment, then that means guilty. The only reason to take the Fifth Amendment is because you're guilty. That's the reason for it. You're not allowed to self-incriminate. So if you take the Fifth Amendment, then it means what they're asking is the truth, and it means you're guilty of it. And so then that's when the interrogation phase can be justified.